So I'm going to show you now how I make my baguettes. It's pretty simple, just 4 ingredients: all-purpose flour, yeast, salt, and water. But the measurements are important, so it's best to weigh the water and the flour. Okay, so the first thing that we need for our baguettes is flour, and we need 500 grams of flour. And I use King Arthur's flour. A lot of bakers like it because it has a high protein count, and that makes the bread more stable. So if you're using a different kind of all-purpose flour, you may want to mix in some bread flour as well. Bread flour has even higher protein count, making it even stable, so you'll probably get the right percentage if you mix it up. So I've already measured up 500 grams here, and I'm just going to move that into our bowl. Okay. Okay, so the other 2 dry ingredients that we need for baguette is salt and obviously yeast. And you actually use just a little tiny bit of yeast because we're going to let it rise for a long time, and that helps the yeast really work it, so we don't need as much yeast. So all you need is about 1/4 spoon of yeast. Let's put that in there. And by the way, I'm not using, you could use this yeast. I'm using one called Saffinstant, which is a French yeast, which it's a little bit less granular or smaller granules, I guess, so I like it, but anyhow. The other ingredients is salt, and we are going to use about 2 teaspoons of that. Okay, those are all our dry ingredients. Okay, our last ingredient is just regular tap water. It doesn't have to be particularly warm, but we need about 375 grams of water. And let's see, we're getting to 300 grams, 350, and I think that's about right. Yep. And then we are going to pour that into the bowl. There. And just going to quickly mix this together. Some of the recipes, or actually most of them, say that you need to knead the dough now. I actually don't think that's necessary because of the fold technique that we will be using, and also because of what just time does to the chemical reaction between the ingredients. So let's see, they're kind of together now, the ingredients. So mix it together a little bit more so that there's no flour really left. That's dry in here, so one kind of shaggy dough. And now that it's all incorporated, we're going to let it rest for several times. The first rest is about 20 minutes. Just going to put this lid on and put this to rest in a warm but not hot place. Okay, so now we're going to do our first fold. So we're going to open up our bowl. It's been 20 minutes. As you see, the dough still looks pretty shaggy. I always wet my hand a little bit before this. You'd rather do that than flour it. Can you see into the bowl now? So you kind of grab a piece of the dough and you fold it over like that. And then you keep turning the bowl and you keep folding like that. Just kind of turning it into a bowl. And you can see that it's already, when I'm folding, it looks a little smoother. Then the recipes don't necessarily call for that, but I always fold it upside down. So there we go. And now we're going to close it up again and let it rest for another 20 minutes. Okay, now it's time for our second fold. We're going to do 3 folds all together. So if you look at the dough now, Ollie, can you show the dough? It's already looking much smoother. I'm going to wet my hand again. I'm going to do the exact same thing as before. So just folding over like that. Keep folding. I usually end up with 4 or 5 folds when I go around like that. And you can see that the dough is already much more stretchy. It's not at all as shaggy as it was before. So that's it. Now we're gonna let it rest again for another 20 minutes. Okay, it's time for the last fold before we put away the dough to rise in the refrigerator. And if you compare what it looks like now to what it looked like before, you'll see it's much smoother. So last fold, just the same as the other ones. And you can see how stretchy it is now, by the way. I really stretch it out a lot. Don't have to stretch it that much, but the whole point is kind of keep folding it like this. And flip it. And that's it for now. We're going to put this in the refrigerator for about 21 hours. I don't usually count it exactly, but at the very least overnight, I would say at least 15 hours. Okay, it's been about 19 hours now, and I decided to take the dough out of the refrigerator. So let's take a look at what it looks like. It has gotten much, much bigger. And you could either divide it right now or wait. I usually wait about an hour before I divide it into pieces. Okay, it's time to start baking or rolling out the dough. Actually, not rolling yet, because we need to what's called pre-shape it. So we're going to get the dough out of the bowl. First I'm going to put a little bit of flour on the cutting board so it doesn't stick to it. And then we're going to get it out with the bowl. No, we don't need that bowl anymore. And to shape a little square because we're going to turn this into 4 squares. I use a dough scraper or cutter. You can just use a knife if you want to, but you can just cut it like this. If you want to be super accurate, you can get your scale out again and divide the dough into 4 equal pieces. But we're not going to be that accurate today. So here we go, 4 pieces. And really all we need to do right now is kind of shape them into little squares like this. I'm going to get a little bit more flour out, both to put on top of them and actually underneath as well so they don't stick too much to the cutting board. Look at that big bubble there, by the way. Oh, cool. It's not the big one there. For now, I'm just going to cover it up with a little bit of plastic, like that. Let's see. Put it a little bit closer to each other. They fit. That's not super tight in this case, and then I'm going to put the towel over as well. Here we go. Now they get to rest. Okay, so it's time to start shaping the baguettes, and then we're going to let them rise. So as you see, I divided them up into 4 pieces, and it's stuck a little bit. It's okay. And we're going to start with shaping them a little bit. A little bit of flour for this. Let's start with the one right here. Go through the same process. So you kind of fold them on top of each other, or into themselves, I guess. So see, I kind of take one finger inside and fold over it a little bit, and do that all the way. Can you see that, Bella? And then I just do it again. I kind of keep the finger there, sticking a little bit there, and then we'll do it again. And I think one last time here. And now we have what's called the seam. Get some flour underneath because it's real sticky. And you can use your palm of your hand to seal the seam like this. this one aside here for a little bit. I'm going to do the same thing to all of them. Next one here, start kind of with the longer side facing me and just fold over like this. Next time, and we'll do the seam again here. Also the rest there too. Once again. You can really see the bubbles here in the dough, by the way, it's tons of bubbles. I'm trying to work lightly to keep as many of those bubbles as possible. Let's see again here. And the last one. So now we have kind of 4 rolls like that. Now we're going to start rolling them out. You can kind of start, cup your hands and roll out towards the edges. And I guess depending on how thick you want your baguettes to be, you can do this thicker or thinner. Also think about how long they're going to get, because you can only fit that much into a regular oven, right? So this is probably as long as they can get, and I just roll the ends a little bit too. Then we get to the special piece of equipment that we want to use for baguettes, which is a cloche. This is linen. You can sprinkle a little bit of flour on it so that you put the baguettes to rest on this. They are not going to get stuck. Let's see all the seam a little bit more. It doesn't look really messy. And then we put it to rest in the cloche like that, and shape the cloche around it. That to kind of give it a little bed for the baguette to rest in. And we'll do the next one here. Do it the same way. Level out. And do the ends a little bit too. Down over there too to rest. Number 3. And number 4. Okay. And now we can kind of put the cloth over it a little bit. I sometimes put like the bag of flour or something, just make sure it doesn't, the end piece doesn't roll away. And that's it for now. Okay, finally it's time to get the baguettes into the oven. While they were resting, I turned the oven to 495 degrees and it's now warm and nice. So we're gonna open up the cloche, and the first thing we're going to do is pull it out a little bit like this, so the baguettes now are separated from each other, right? And I'm going to use a baguette board to get them onto the this parchment paper that's sitting on top of a pizza paddle or that you can get into the oven. And let's see, I'm not very good at doing this, but basically you can just kind of use the cloche to move it over like that. And then we're going to flip it over here too. Up in the wrong end, so like that. I'm going to move it over to the end here because I do want to fit all 4 baguettes on this here. Like that. And do the same with this one here. Let's move it like that one time so I get it the right way. And now I'm going to put it up. I want to do this right. This one. And we'll do the, let's see, right there, onto my cloche, board, and then last one here. That. And then over here. That. For baguettes. Now I use a lamb, which is a razor blade, and use this to score the baguettes. And you want to hold it like that. You want the scores to overlap a little bit with each other. There we go. And don't be afraid to go fairly deep with these. You want that so that you can open up and get them. And now these are a little too long for my pizza board here, so I'm going to just see if I can do double duty with my baguettes. But let's see, let's get the oven open. It's almost falling off here. Into the oven, there you go. Like that. Ended up twisting, so see if I can fix that without burning myself. Let him be. Now, the next trick is to get steam into the oven. And what I do is I take some ice cubes and I put them in a cast iron skillet, put them in there, heating up, and close the oven right away. So they need the steam in the beginning to get a nice crust. And then we're going to open the oven up after maybe 5 minutes to get the steam out. Just a quick video now to show how we let out the steam. You just have to open it a little bit. You can see the baguettes are baking in there. Just opening it up a little bit like this lets out a lot of the steam. Okay, last step. Getting the baguettes out of the oven. I'm going to use the pizza peel again. And just slide it under the parchment paper here. Here we go. Look at that. I'm being told I should have said voila as they came out of the oven. They look great. They have, you can see the cuts here. When you get this little edge here that you can actually lift it on, that's called an ear. That's what you're going for. We're going to wait for about 20 minutes before we cut them open.